Hi, I'm Alex Paulton. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Talking Timepieces, where we talk about timekeeping, watches, and horology. Today, let's talk about the Vostok Amphibia. The Vostok Amphibia has been talked about by a lot of people, but that's because it's one of the coolest, most cost-effective watches out there. Well engineered, tremendous history. A lot of people have talked about it, and it's my turn to throw in my 2 cents. So let's flip the camera around and take a look. So here's the Vostok Amphibia up close. A very clean and simple design. The indices are very plain and sharp, little dots of lume at the end. The indices themselves are not filled. The hands are filled with lume. In all, it's a really nice presentation, and when you consider the price point, this watch is under $100. You could do a lot worse. There are some other nice pieces out there, Casio, Seiko, and they're all worth it. But this watch has such an interesting history and such cool engineering, it demands attention, and it's also an incredibly nice daily wear piece for a person on a budget who wants something that's a little striking, a little useful, a little interesting, and has great history and horological history in both military and horological. You don't get that often. So it was designed during a time when the engineers could trust their own work, but they couldn't trust the manufacturing, and they couldn't even trust the user. So this watch is over-engineered in the Soviet sense, the Soyuz rocket sense. Not elegant, but they're still shooting people into space on it because it is reliable and it gets the job done. And that is this watch exactly. It's a great piece. Let me unscrew the crown. Now, this watch, the Vostok Amphibia, has a notoriously, what they call a floppy crown. You can see the light glinting off of it. Let me extend it. Make sure I unscrew it completely. There we go. See, I can tell I've extended it because it's connected to the movement. Now, if you push it in a little, if you notice, it wobbles because the moment you push it in, it's disengaged from the movement. So if it's not screwed in, because they couldn't trust the soldiers they issued it to even bother to screw it in, if I give a shock to the stem, right, nothing happens to the movement because when it's not pulled out, it's not connected to the movement. And that's the engineering behind this. Some people, Time Teller, crapped all over this without completely understanding the elegance of the solution because it's a screw down crown. So once it's screwed down, does it matter how lightweight the connection is? But let's say I unscrew it and I use it to set the time and I push it back in, but I don't bother to screw it in. I can bang it, I can knock into it, and it doesn't affect the movement. Like I said, the engineers could trust their work, but they couldn't trust the users. And what I was saying about not trusting the manufacturing is a waterproof watch in the traditional sense is waterproof because the parts fit together tightly enough that water can't get in, and they throw a rubber gasket in the critical spaces to make sure that any leakage is stopped. The Russians couldn't do that. They didn't trust the manufacturing tolerances on the watch systems, the manufacturing systems. So that's one of the biggest reasons it has a plastic crystal. Not for money saving, although it did save money, but the crystal is actually domed in a very specific way so that water pressure pushes it deeper into the case and thus increasing its water resistance. So you could make the argument that the Vostok Amphibia is not waterproof. It's just incredibly water resistant to several hundred meters. So, and the reason I say several hundred meters, although it's rated for 200 only, is that same giving aspect of the watch engineering allows it to go deeper than it's rated. I've heard pressure tests have been done on this to several hundred meters, but then again, it's not a guaranteed thing, so it's only rated to the depth that it was requested to be rated for by the Soviet authorities. And they still make this watch today. This is a new watch, of course, made by the Vostok company based on the old design. Now, the back of the watch, if you'll notice, it's got a ring and a back, and that's because this back is simply a plate that is resting on a humongous rubber gasket. And this ring is a retention ring that holds the back in place. So theoretically, it's not waterproof a few meters above sea level, but the deeper you go, the tighter it gets, because the water pressure, again, presses on the back, presses it deeper against the gasket. So the deeper it goes, the better it works. Somebody wittier than me in their video said that it's like the SR-71, which leaks fuel on the ground at ground level, but once it's up in flight and it heats up nicely, it grows several inches and it all fits together the way the engineers designed it to, because then it's operating in the realm it was designed to operate in, and it's a perfect aircraft. I wouldn't call this the perfect watch, but in the sense that it is a diver's watch that gives with sea pressure as opposed to trying to fight sea pressure, it's a fantastic engineering design and a great, elegant way to get around machine tolerances in waterproof watch manufacturing. As you see, it is a three-hander with date function, and the lume on the face isn't that great over a great period of time, but it's enough if you wake up at 6 in the morning and you peek at it under the covers, you can pretty much make out the time still on it. Now, a lot of people talk about watches of this nature because sometimes it's difficult to set the date because there is no quick set date. But if you toggle back and forth, let me see, am I moving the date? Because I'm trying to see through the camera as well and try to get this date. Let's zoom in a little bit, and we'll go through the actual date procedure on this. So let's wind forward. Okay, so I was on the right date. Okay, so now we pop through, and then we go back past 9, and then we roll forward again, and it'll click again. See, so just toggling back between 9 and 1, you can advance the date. So that's the quick way on this watch. And other watches do it as well. My Bulova Ambassador does it well. Since I'm zooming, let's zoom in a little bit on that nice scuba dude. Let me roll that out of the way. It really is a fun, good-looking dial for a cute, inexpensive watch. And I can't call it cute because although it's a nice-looking piece and has a kind of a cute cast about it because of its presentation, this is actually a really serious diving watch. And like I said, the Russian military during the Soviet era and the Cold War, and possibly even today, big serious people would kill each other underwater wearing these things. So this is not a toy watch. This is a serious dive watch that just happens to be incredibly inexpensive. Made for the military, it needed to be inexpensive, highly engineered to do what it needed to do, and it looks good too. So a really nice daily wear watch if you have a budget. And frankly, if you're going to spend $100 on a watch, I know there are others out there, but I would totally go with this one because this has the most character of anything in its price range. And it's got character in tons. History, character, horological history, military history. You can't beat it. And it's even been in outer space because Vostoks have been carried by Soviet astronauts since the beginning, although the very first was a Sturmansky. Gagarin or his class Sturmansky. I've got a Sturmansky. It's the aviation chrono. Gagarin actually wore his three-hander, a Sturmansky three-hander, but I like this model. Now, let's get a quick wrist check, and then we'll flip the camera and close out. Wristwatch check. I'm wearing my Marie Lacroix annual calendar flyback chronograph. It's a lovely piece. It looks a little bit like a cake because it's actually made of 3 modules. I have a video on this. Just check out the archive. So let's take this off. I've got it on a Bark and Jack NATO strap. I always cut the keeper off. I don't do, I like the single thickness of cloth. But the Bark and Jack strap is really nice. It's very, very silky, like seatbelt feel, really nice. The gray is a little subdued, more like a real James Bond. Not a bright gray, and it works very well to make this slightly fancy-ish watch more casual. Now, let's throw this on the wrist, and you'll see it really is a nice piece. I really like wearing it, and I wind up giving these away a lot because it's an inexpensive watch, so I gift it. And it's a watch that I don't feel bad gifting, even though it's inexpensive, because it's a cool watch. So, it's not something you have to go, oh, I only paid $100 for it, or depending on the situation, wow, I paid $100 for this. It all depends on your relative budget. And the key to watches is not about the money. It's what if you can connect to it, if it has a story that you enjoy, if it has something behind it. And that's why, like I said, I would wear this over, frankly, any other watch in its price range, because it's just got tons of character and it's got tons of history, and it's just a cool looking watch. It sits nicely on the wrist. I have big hands and small wrists, so it works nicely as far as balance goes, and in general, just a really nice piece. So that's the Amphibia. Let's flip the camera around and say goodbye. So, that was the Vostok Amphibia. Again, like I mean, I can't stop emphasizing what a cool all-around knockabout watch this is. In fact, I routinely give these away. I mean, not to everyone, but a very good friend of mine, his son, he asked me about a good first watch, and so I said, you know what, I'm going to send him this one, because I've only had this a few months, haven't worn it much myself. Fantastic first watch, so I'm going to let him enjoy it. And then give me the pleasure of hunting for another one. Maybe I'll get it with a different case or a different strap or something like that, maybe even a different face. That's the beauty of the Vostok Amphibia. So thanks for taking the time. I'm glad you took the time to be with me today. Please subscribe. It's a hobby site. I don't post that often, but if you subscribe, you'll know when I have something new. You take care now and have a great day.